We want to throw in a little bit of simplifying radical expressions review every day now. Right, this was from last Friday and even a little bit yesterday. We struggled with it a little bit, or at least a little bit more practice isn't going to hurt us. So remember, to be considered simplified, a radical can't contain any perfect factors. These are all square roots, so we're going to be looking specifically at our squares list, right, for any factors of the numbers that are there. I want to break each of those into the perfect and the leftovers. So the square root of 24, I'm going to look and say the biggest square that I can divide 24 by is 4. So 24 is the same as 4 times 6, so I can rewrite it as the square root of 4 times the square root of 6. We do that because the square root of 4 has a nice answer, that would be a 2, and the square root of 6 doesn't. Why do we really do this now? Well, it's really good practice of factoring and just those multiplication and division skills, right? Why did they do this traditionally? Well, because textbooks had a list of square roots in the back, and they couldn't list every single square root. So by simplifying them, right, we get to multiply 2 times whatever the approximate square root of 6 was. Right, now that we have a calculator, yes, to some degree, some of this isn't as useful. But you will see it a little bit when you get to calculus and where it might apply, where you would actually need to use that. But it's still really good practice for those multiplication skills. So if I break the next one into one piece at a time so it's not scary. Square root of 200. I look for a perfect square that I can divide 200 by. The biggest is 100. So I would rewrite it as the square root of 100 times square root of 2. The square root of 100 was my perfect. That was 10. The square root of 2 is not a perfect, so it's a messy decimal, so we leave it the square root of 2. The square root of x to the 4th, right, is x to the 4 halves, which is just x to the 2nd. Right? 2 2's go into 4. And then the square root of y to the 5th is y to the 5 halves, which is the same as 2 and 1/2. So I get y to the 2nd and y to the 1/2. That's my 2 and 1/2, right? But the y to the 1/2 is really just the square root of y. So now the parts that are not under square roots in the front, I always want you to write the radical, the square root part at the very end. So I have a 10, an x squared, and a y squared. And then the radical part was a square root, and under the square roots I have a 2 and a y. Right, there should never be anything off at the end after the radical. So what about roots other than square roots? So this time we're looking at cubed roots. So we wanted to use our perfect cubes list to help us. Say, what perfect cube can I divide 16 by? The biggest perfect cube I can divide 16 by is 8. So I break this into the cubed root of 8 and the cubed root of 2, because 8 times 2 is 16. Right? The cubed root of 8 was the perfect part. The answer to that is 2. The cubed root of 2 is not a perfect, so I don't know the cubed root of 2, which means I just leave it cubed root of 2. And the second one, the cubed root of 54, x to the 7th power. If I look at that in separate pieces, so it's not overwhelming, the cubed root of 54 and the cubed root of x to the 7th. Right? The cubed root of 54, biggest perfect cube I can divide 54 by is 27. So I can rewrite this as the cubed root of 27 times 2, right? The cubed root of 2. The cubed root of 27 was a perfect. That was 3. The cubed root of 2 is not a perfect, so it just stays the cubed root of 2. And then what about the variable part? The cubed root of x to the 7th. Right? The cubed root of x to the 7th. Well, it's up to you if you want to break it into something divisible by 3 and then the leftovers. Right? So the cubed root of x to the 6th, because 6 is divisible by 3. And then I still need one more x there to make x to the 7th altogether. And I know that this was a perfect part because 6 divided by 3 was 2. So x to the 6 over 3 becomes x to the 2nd. And I still have a cubed root of x. If I put my parts outside of the radical in the front, 3 and x squared, And then under cubed roots, I still have 2x. How about roots bigger than cubed roots? Let's look at a fourth root and a seventh root. So if I look at my perfect fourths list, what perfect fourth can I divide 112 by? Well, I definitely can't divide it by the ones bigger than 112. So what about 81? Nope, 81's not going to work. So it must be 16, or maybe I can't simplify it at all. But if I check, I can divide 112 by 16. It becomes 16 times 7. Now, what I wrote here is one of the biggest mistakes again. Every time I draw a radical symbol, I have to make sure that I put that fourth root on the outside. So the fourth root of 16 and the fourth root of 7. The square root of 16 has a very different answer. Right? So the fourth root of 16 was 2. Right? If I look in my fourths list, and the fourth root of 7, I don't have the answer to, so I leave it fourth roots of 7. Or look at 1/7. So looking in my sevenths list, what can I divide 384 by? So if I break it into the seventh root of 384 and the seventh root of b to the 8th, so I have to look at one piece at a time, I can divide 384 by 128. So I can break this into the seventh root of 128 times 3. The seventh root of 128 was my perfect. That's 2. So 2 seventh roots of 3. But then I have to look at my seventh root of b to the 8th. Right? So that's really the same. You could think of it as 8 sevenths, and then that's 1 and 1/7, right? And I could simplify it that way. Or I could look at it and say the seventh root of, I know I want something divisible by 7, and then whatever's left. So if I have 7 b's, I still need one more b yet. This was my perfect part. It was just b to the first, because 7 divided by 7 is 1, and I still have a seventh root of b left. So if I put my 2 and b in the front, and then seventh roots of 3 and b are under the radical yet. Last but not least, what do I do if there's a number in front of the radical? So not the index, not the small number that tells me which root it is, but a whole number that's in front of that radical, right? Well, if there's no symbol in between, it means we're multiplying. So basically, I treat the square root of 48 just like before, and then when I'm done, I multiply it by 2, right? So I look at the square root of 48 and say the biggest square that I can divide 48 by is 16. 48 is really 16 times 3, so I can break it into the square root of 16 times the square root of 3. The square root of 16 is 4, so the square root of 48 is really 4 square roots of 3. But there was a 2 in the front, which just means I have to multiply that by 2, or double that. So when I double 4 square roots of 3, I get 8 square roots of 3. Right, I can multiply together the two constants on the outside of the radical. Same idea with that next one, except it's a fourth root, so I have to look here in my fourths list. Biggest perfect fourth I can divide 32 by is 16. Again, this is where it really matters that I put the fourth root there, because the fourth root of 16 is really different than the square root of 16. Turns out 16 times 2 was 32. Right? And then the fourth root of 16 is 2. So the fourth root of 32 is really 2 fourth roots of 2. But there was the 3 in front, so I still have to multiply it by 3. 3 times 2 gives me 6 fourth roots of 2 altogether. So your turn to try a few more practice problems.